Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
The much touted Haryana law providing for 75% reservation for locals in private sector industries finally became a law on Tuesday. So in our first KYC episode this week, I tell you more about this law and about how courts have dealt with such reservations in the past. Now, the Haryana State Employment of Local Candidates Act 2021, that's the law that has been passed, it mandates all companies, societies, trusts, partnership firms or any person in the state of Haryana that employs more than 10 people to provide 75% of its new jobs to local candidates. The reservation needs to be provided in new jobs having a monthly salary of less than 50,000 rupees. Now, this quota will initially apply for 10 years. There is an exemption as well. So the employers can be exempted from this requirement of providing reservation to locals if it claims that enough local candidates of the desired skill or qualification or proficiency are not available. Also, of course, it lays down certain penalties as well. But of course, several constitutional questions have since been highlighted in the law. So firstly, Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution guarantees the fundamental right to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade or business to all citizens of India. So technically, making it compulsory for private institutions to restrict their recruitment to a certain set of candidates, that is local candidates in this case, may amount to a violation of this specific right. Now, to be clear, such an issue hasn't come up before the Supreme Court directly before, but let me refer you to two landmark judgments passed in 2002 and 2005, in which the Supreme Court held two things. Firstly, that unaided private educational institutions, here we're talking about educational institutions, must have autonomy in their administration and their management. And the second point here is that the court ruled that the government cannot insist on private educational institutions which do not receive any aid from the state to actually implement reservation on any criteria. And the court also ruled that the right to establish and administer an educational institution is in itself an occupation under Article 19(1)(g). So the 93rd Constitutional Amendment was brought in 2005 to remedy the situation. It essentially allows the government to mandate reservations for socially and educationally backward class of citizens or scheduled castes and scheduled tribes for admissions in private educational institutions. But the difference here is that no such amendment has actually so far been brought in specifically for quotas in private jobs as such. Now, there's another issue as well. The Supreme Court has in the past ruled against a reservation based only on the place of birth or residence. So basically for locals, shutting it down or striking it down. For example, in 2002, the Supreme Court struck down the appointment of government teachers in Rajasthan, in which the state selection board actually gave preference to applicants belonging to, and I quote, applicants belonging to the district or the rural areas of the district concerned. Also in 2019, the Allahabad High Court struck down a recruitment notification which was passed by the UP Subordinate Service Selection Commission. Basically, this notification prescribed preference for women who are original residents of UP alone. But there have been states that have provided for a reservation for local residents in the private sector before. In fact, for example, as recent as July 2019, the Andhra Pradesh government passed a law to provide for 75% reservation for locals in industries of factories, much similar to the Haryana law. Now, this act was challenged in the High Court and the case is currently pending. One more issue that I'd like to highlight here is that the 75% limit may also violate the Supreme Court's Indra Sawhney decision. Now, this case was, of course, as we've spoken about before, was about reservations under Article 16 as well, among other things, which provides for reservation for backward classes in public services, not private sector. But the court had said that such a quota cannot exceed 50% to maintain efficiency in administration except for extraordinary situations. Former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister and President of the People's Democratic Party, Mehbooba Mufti, has approached the Jammu and Kashmir High Court. Her demand? A direction to the government and the police authorities to issue a passport to her. And to bolster her request, Mufti has relied on the right to travel abroad and Article 21 of the Constitution, and that's what I tell you about next on KYC. Now, one of the earliest cases on this issue was Satwant Singh versus D. Ramarathnam. Basically, Satwant Singh was a businessman dealing with import, export, and manufacture of automobile parts. And it was important for him to travel abroad for his business. He was holding 2 valid passports at that time when in 1966 he was asked to surrender both the passports. Now, he challenged this decision in the Supreme Court, which then ruled that a person living in India has a fundamental right to travel abroad under Article 21 of the Constitution, which guarantees the right to life and personal liberty. The court said that the expression personal liberty used under Article 21 also includes the right of locomotion and the right to travel abroad. Now, as we know, Article 21 says that, and I quote, "No person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to procedure established by law." So the court noted that this right to travel abroad under Article 21 can only be restricted as per the procedure established by law. However, at that time, we only had a small pre-independence law called the Passport Entry into India Act 1920, which only penalized entering India without a passport. The government had also made rules under this act, but effectively, the court noted that at that time, there was no law placing any restrictions on the citizens of the country to travel abroad. At that time, the court also noted that the issuance of passports was entirely through unchallenged discretion of the executive. Finally, the authorities were asked by the court to not take away Singh's passports. This judgment was passed on 10th April 1967. In response, the Passports Act 1967 was passed on 24 June 1967 to regulate issuance of passports and other travel documents. And then came the decision in Maneka Gandhi versus Union of India. Now, Maneka Gandhi was a journalist who was asked to surrender her passport after a year when it was issued. When she asked the authorities for a reason, she was told that her passport was impounded in the interest of general public under the Passports Act 1967 and that the government had decided not to give her a copy of the reasons for taking away her passport. She then took the fight to the Supreme Court and raised several issues leading to a landmark verdict. A 7-judge constitution bench of the Supreme Court then delivered a judgment that greatly widened the scope of Article 21 of the Constitution and reaffirmed the ruling in Satwant Singh. The court basically said that Article 21 does include the right to travel abroad. Then it examined the procedure that had now been established by law, that is the Passports Act 1967. The court basically found the procedure laid down by the Act to impound passports to be constitutional. But it asserted that ordinarily, no passport can either be impounded or revoked without giving a prior opportunity to its holder to represent or present his case. If there is an emergency to impound a passport without hearing the holder, even then the court said that the holder should at least be heard after such a step had been taken. Ironically though, the final result of this case was that Maneka Gandhi was asked to make a representation on the impounding of a passport to the authorities, and the decision on her passport was left to these authorities. Now, the Supreme Court has reiterated this decision in several other decisions that came after it. Even in April 2019, it was hearing a case filed by an IPS officer who had been denied permission to travel abroad due to pending departmental inquiry against him. But the Supreme Court reiterated this right and referred to the Maneka Gandhi judgment, and it allowed the officer to travel to the US to visit his family. Did you know that in India, transgender persons cannot donate blood? In fact, a petition has also been filed in the Supreme Court challenging the rules which bar people from the transgender community from donating blood. The petitioners claim that this is discrimination on the basis of gender and sexual orientation, referring to a landmark judgment passed by the Supreme Court in 2014. Now, while the court has sought the centre's response to the petition, in my next KYC episode, I tell you more about the 2014 verdict. Now, the 2014 judgment basically was a result of a petition filed by the National Legal Services Authority, that is NALSA, and supported by prominent transgender activists like Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi. Now, NALSA is basically a statutory body, that is a body formed by the law in 1997 to provide free legal services to the weaker and other marginalized sections of the society. The petition basically demanded legal recognition of people who fall outside the male-female gender binary, including people who identify as the third gender. Now, according to the World Health Organization, transgender is an umbrella term that includes persons whose sense of gender does not match with the gender assigned to them at birth. Now, in its judgment, the Supreme Court basically for the first time ever discussed gender identity at length and ruled that those belonging to the third gender were also entitled to fundamental rights under the Constitution. First, among the court's rulings, firstly, the court recognized everybody's right to self-identify their own gender. It then said that fundamental rights under Articles 14, 15, 16, 19 and 21 do not exclude transgender persons from their ambit as they use gender-neutral words and hence apply to transgender persons as well. The court noted that transgender persons have been facing extreme discrimination in the society on the ground of their sexual orientation and gender identity, violating the guarantee of equality before law and equal protection of laws under Article 14 of the Constitution. The court then moved on to Articles 15 and 16. Now, Article 15 says that the state shall not discriminate against any citizen on several grounds, including on the ground of sex. Article 16 says that no citizen shall be discriminated against on the grounds of sex in government jobs. Now, the Supreme Court essentially ruled in the judgment that discrimination on the ground of sex also included discrimination on the basis of gender identity. And it interpreted the expression sex used in Articles 15 and 16 to say that it is not limited to biological sex of male or female, but is intended to include people who consider themselves to be neither male or female. Next, the court spoke about Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution, which, as I've told you before, guarantees the freedom of speech and expression. So the court asserted that this right includes a person's right to express their self-identified gender. And this self-identified gender can be expressed through dress, words, action, or behavior, or any other form. So in other words, the court said that the right to express your gender through dress, words, action, or behavior is also covered by the freedom of expression under Article 19. The court also said that self-determination of gender is also an integral part of personal autonomy and self-expression, and so it falls under personal liberty guaranteed by Article 21 of the Constitution. The court then ordered the government to take several steps for advancement of the transgender community. So these included adding an option of a third gender in all documents and recognizing the third gender as a socially and educationally backward class of citizens, which essentially makes them eligible for reservations as well. Now, this verdict has also been cited in other landmark judgments. So, for example, the court's observations on expression of gender identity came in handy for another bench of the Supreme Court in Navteej Singh Johar case, which read down Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code. This is Apurva Mandhani for The Print. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.